Hey, everybody, welcome back to Hard Knock Crypto. And, we're excited to come to you today and talk about a few of those things that are happening in the market. See you in a few. All right. So, three pieces of news I thought that we could talk about. First one, right? Obviously, President Trump signed the executive order for crypto reserve,
Yeah.
which I thought was a huge deal,
Yes, for sure.
right? Maybe four. Let me give you four. Okay.
Okay.
The other one is that the FDIC it rescinded the crypto guidance, which if you know if you're interested, it just kind of means that the that from a compliance and regulatory perspective, that we're starting to see the crypto and traditional banking world starting to slowly come together, right?
Hmm.
Which is a big step, right?
Hmm.
Because you and I know, as we were setting up our company, we're like, man, how is this banking thing going to work between traditional and the crypto world?
Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be interesting. The third I thought was super interesting is that Japan recognized crypto assets as financial products.
Yeah.
Now I'll bring that into play a little bit when we
Okay.
start jumping into one of my favorite topics, which is global economies. Which countries are the big players with regards to GDP? What
Hmm.
does it look like from the large investment firms? And I know you love BlackRock in this discussion, right? And this becomes an important part of that discussion.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to talk about that a little bit. I want to spend a considerable amount of time talking about what I just mentioned regarding
Okay.
GDPs, AUMs, investment firms.
Yeah.
And then it ties to, because you know what? The tariffs are killing our economy, apparently. Apparently. Apparently, right?
Yeah. Even if
And
you get it on X and the smart guys that I actually really respect are like, man, he's blowing up the market. This is really
so
stupid.
yeah, yeah. I have strong opinions about it.
Sure.
And I'm sure you do as well. So it all ties together because Bitcoin today was, I think the last time I checked, it was like 82 something, right?
Yeah.
And so, what does all of that mean for everybody who's like, man, this looks really tough? Should I put money into this? Should I be concerned?
Sure.
I believe it all fits together in a wonderful and interesting puzzle that paints this beautiful landscape for us to talk about. Anyway, so
Okay.
that's my thought. Yeah?
Okay. That's a
Should we
lot.
try? That's a
Yeah.
lot.
Where do you want to start?
Where do we want to start? Okay. I think that where we should start is one of my favorite places to start, which is whenever I ask you a question and we talk about, like, hey, can you tell me the top five? Right? Like those kind of things. Okay.
Sure. Sure.
All right. So this is where we're gonna start today, okay?
Okay, give me a
You ready?
softball
You ready?
because I mean, it's really intense, all that stuff. And we actually we're a show that kind of wings a lot of stuff,
Yeah.
so we haven't gone over much of this. So throw me a softball, and we'll work our way in.
Okay. Okay. I'll make it easy for you. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to start off with a list of the top five largest economies, countries by GDP, and I would have gone 5 to 1, right? But I'll
Okay.
go 1 to 5. How about that? That should be pretty easy,
Oh,
right?
okay. Whew. All right.
Yeah. Okay. Pretty easy.
Ecuador, Zimbabwe.
Absolutely. No, no. Anybody who guessed those, man, three strikes, you're out right on your first guess.
Pronunciation. Okay, so
Okay.
number one has to be the
First one.
USA, right?
Of course. 100%, about 29 trillion dollars. Okay. Number two. What do you think is number
Okay.
two?
China.
Absolutely right. Man, you are really good at this. Okay.
Man.
China is about at 18 trillion. Okay.
Okay.
The third
Okay.
is, what do you think? This might be a little bit more difficult for you.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty good. I mean, the global powers are America and China, and money talks, and it's the
That's
biggest
right.
deal. And so those are pretty easy. If you think about
Yes.
Europe, I mean, Europe as a whole, if it was a country, I might go with that, but it's not. So, when you're talking about Japan, I think Japan is in the top 5, but I don't think they're number 3. Uh, but maybe they are.
You are so good at this game, man. I'm gonna stop you right there so you don't
Okay.
take a
Mm.
wacky guess, okay? But yes, you're you are
Is
3
it
for 3.
Japan?
Japan,
Okay, good.
it is. Now there's a huge drop off from China to Japan. China, I said, is about 18 trillion, right?
Mhm.
But Japan is about 4.5, a little bit north of 4.5 trillion.
Okay.
Okay. So that's number 3. Number
Uh-huh.
4. Number 4.
Uh,
What do you think it is?
Russia.
No. Nah, nah,
Okay.
nah, wah. Yeah. No,
You
number
suck.
4. Yeah. Number 4 is Germany.
Oh, okay.
Germany.
So that's when the
Yeah, Germany.
Europeans walk in.
Bro, they are obviously selling a ton of BMWs. But yes, they
Oh,
are
BMW and
it's all
Audi.
BMWs all the time. Yeah, 4.7 trillion dollars. And number 5, will you get number 5? I think you should get number 5. It was big news a few years ago
The country was
when
big
they
news?
meaning that they became number 5. That was actually pretty big news.
Germany, yeah.
I'll give you a hint. Historically, this was a huge event when it became number 5.
Really?
Yes, for
Uh,
sure.
France.
No, no, it wasn't France. It was India. So India became
Oh,
number 5. Yeah,
okay.
historically, because India passed at that time Britain to be number 5.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
What year
so
was that?
I want to say it was like 2023,
Was
maybe.
it? So it's
That's
been
yeah,
okay. That's really interesting.
yeah,
Hey,
fairly
so
fairly recent. So yeah,
we're talking about GDP, right?
yes, we are. Yes.
Okay,
Okay.
so just I pride myself that Hard Knock Crypto is not for the upper class. It's more of your commoner uh, questions. So we may have listeners that are like, okay, what is GDP? Can you answer that for me?
And health of a country, right?
Right.
So what is that? It's the total value of all goods and services produced within a country in a specific time period. Which is
And
yes.
it's interesting because like with the Biden economy, oftentimes they would point to that, but even with Doge these days, they're realizing that how much of our GDP was simply the government just giving out jobs, doing various things like that, and making money. And they're like, "Hey, look at our GDP. This is adding so much," but really, it's a lot of
Right.
fluff.
A lot of fluff. Yes. And so I think now we're starting to kind of get to a better place. Like we're working our way towards this place where I think we have pretty not an accurate, but a truer place in terms of where we're at when it comes to
Right.
those type of metrics and kind of where we're landing up. Right. So
Right.
yes, so those are the 5 countries. Okay. I did the top 5.
Mhm.
Then I thought, okay, are there I mean, we know that there are investment firms that manage huge portfolios, right? And
Right.
assets, right? And so we said,
Right.
if we were to redo that list and we included them also,
Yeah.
what would that list look like?
Yeah.
Right. And so when I did it, do you want to try a top 5 again? If you were to include some of
I
those,
love it.
would
Let's
that
do it.
be all
Sure.
right?
Why not?
All right, let's start. Number 1, who do you think it is?
We're doing the
You
top
can start
10 GDP
combination. So
combination of
we're including
countries
now
and companies.
yes,
Okay, so it's
and we'll
America,
just do top 5 for now. Yes, 1.
China,
Yes, 2. You're right.
then it'd be BlackRock.
You are 100% right, and for anybody who's like, "What?" Yes, guess what?
Yeah,
11.5 trillion dollars
yeah,
of assets under management. BlackRock, it's the top 3. How crazy is that?
yeah.
That to
It
me is
is.
nuts, right?
Mm,
Number 4. Do you know what number 4 is? This one's gonna be tough. I'll be very honest with you.
Fidelity?
No, Fidelity's on the list. Surprisingly, they were number 7 if we did a
Wow.
top 10.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're number
Is it
7.
another
Okay,
American financial institute?
man, you're good. Yes, it is.
Is it Van Eck?
No, but you're close.
Okay, you tell me.
It's Vanguard.
Oh,
So,
so close.
yeah, Vanguard. Anyway, so yeah, it's Vanguard at 9.3 trillion
Wow.
and number 5. Do you know what number 5 is?
Is it another company?
No, it is a country.
Okay, so
It should be easy then.
Germany, right?
No, it would be Japan because
Oh,
because it would be
I
number 3,
missed.
right?
Yeah,
Would
you're
it?
right. I mixed them up.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
which is,
two of them are American
yeah,
companies.
exactly. And unfortunate for Germany and India, it's like, wah, wah, you're no longer in the
Right.
top 5, right?
Yeah.
And so, anyway, but when you go through the top 10, right, it becomes like number 5 is Japan, Germany, then number 7 is Fidelity
Okay.
Investments. Number 8 is State Street.
Mm.
Number 9 is India. Number 10 is France. So that's your top 10.
Wow.
Okay. So in your top 10, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the top 10 are these large investment firms.
That's wild, isn't it?
It is wild. Do you want to take a guess and see of the top 10, how many of those are somewhat pro crypto?
Of the top 10, it would be obviously US. I think China has flipped back because they flip all the time. Sometimes it's outlawed, sometimes it's not. I think
Right.
currently they're pro. Obviously BlackRock is huge crypto. Larry Fink is pro Bitcoin. I just read one of their I can't remember if we said talked about this in the last podcast, but they basically said in a statement that the US dollar is in trouble if it continues to lose its standing as the world reserve currency to Bitcoin. So, I mean, that's kind of massive.
Yeah,
If
I mean, he's also said that everybody should have at least 2% of their portfolio in crypto,
yeah,
right? Something like that. Okay.
yeah, and Japan is as you said, they're flipping pro.
Right. Right.
And then the top 10, you said
So that's for. By the way, so far you've said we're 5 for 5, the top 5 so far,
right.
right?
Yeah. Did I
Um,
say five, three,
you
four?
Yeah,
Who?
United
Number five?
States, China, Black. Oh, you skipped
BlackRock.
Vanguard. You skipped
Oh, okay. And
Vanguard.
I don't
Sorry.
think Vanguard is. I don't think they're pro crypto yet.
No, they're not. They're not, and that's an interesting one. But we'll get back to that one.
Okay.
Okay.
So Japan is,
Uh, Japan
Fidelity's
is.
pro.
Yeah,
If you want to read some
100%.
really fascinating stuff, this is for all the nerds. I know this is for the common man, but if you want to get in the weeds, you ought to read some of Fidelity's just research, what they've been looking at crypto for like 12 years. They've written a lot of fascinating standpoints on Bitcoin and other things. So, I mean, it really is, you have to have your head in the sand or just not be interested if you are not paying attention to the macro outlook of this whole thing.
Oh, listen, Fidelity, as you said, if you just start researching, you'll realize the Fidelity was way ahead of the curve,
Way ahead.
way ahead. Like they already had set up a business, right? Like for investment or crypto.
Yeah.
So they were light years ahead. A lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay, so Fidelity's pro, Germany's pro, obviously State Street, right, is pro.
Yeah.
It India is kind of weird. I feel like I want to stick India with Vanguard, right? We could talk about that a little bit.
Yeah.
And France is somewhat pro. But having said that, 8 of the 10
Right.
are pro or moving pro,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
And so I find that, and I brought that for a reason. And a reason I brought that is that hold on one second.
Yeah, there's totally pro. And the thing is, as you said, BlackRock would be the third largest country with GDP. And if like nothing happened on Wall Street with Bitcoin until BlackRock applied for an ETF. Tons of other people that did it, other companies are like, hey, I mean, the Winklevoss twins applied for it like 10 years before that last year, and BlackRock applied in 23 and it got approved in 24, like that. Because guess what? They make the rules. And if you don't believe that, do a little research.
So this is my point, all right? The point is for those of us who are listen, we're you and I, as much Andrew, as much as I'd like to say this, I love to think that we are movers and shakers,
Someday
right?
it'll happen.
Someday. I love to be able to think that, hey man, we're gonna make like this market's gonna move in the direction that we want it to move in, right?
Right.
And we're gonna make
Right.
some moves. Well, as much as I like to think that, that's not us.
Yeah.
However, the 10 that I just talked about, they are movers and shakers.
100%.
And they are all, for the most part, pro.
Yeah.
And I would be shocked in the next 2 or 3 years if we're not talking about all 10 of those being pro,
Yeah.
right? And as much as we want to hear about what's happening in the marketplace, sometimes we just have to watch what's happening.
Yeah.
And when the movers and shakers are buying more Bitcoin, when they're like from a countries from a regulatory and compliance are making it easier, and we're seeing some sort of level of integration, right, between traditional banking and compliant. Like when you start to with crypto, when you're starting to see those kind of things, you go, man, I need to be paying attention to this. So regardless if the market's like 82 today,
Yeah.
I would say,
For
well,
Bitcoin.
that might, yeah, that might be the case. But I think that I should be watching what the movers and shakers are doing,
Yeah.
right? I mean, there are other, right? I mean, would you agree? I mean, there's other ones. MicroStrategies is like a big mover and shaker in the space, right?
Oh,
And so,
obviously. I mean, if you don't know about MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor's company that just became a Bitcoin uh, company, and we've talked about them before. But overall, at this point, MicroStrategy is somewhat isolated. They're kind of their own deal. They've made their bet.
right.
But it's that, like, if you're gonna, and we've said this before, if you're gonna follow, say, Bitcoin, like day to day, week to week, and you're super worried that it's gone from 108 down to 82, you have to zoom out. You have to look at, hey, what is happening? We have a strategic reserve in America. The president's pro crypto, China's pro crypto, BlackRock. I'm telling you, more than anybody, almost more than the US, BlackRock makes the rules. And we live in this 21st century where it's different rules than it was 100 years ago because it's global. And the richest people in the world are like, they don't go like in the UAE, even where I'm at. They don't say, "Oh, I just got to bank with my local bank." It's like, no, these guys are like calling BlackRock and being like, "Hey, this is their customers," and all over their customers at BlackRock because it's a global world. And so, if you're paying attention, then you will see that these are different waters. It's not, "Oh no, my Bitcoin dropped 10, 20,000. What do I do?" And if you do that, you're selling to BlackRock, you're selling to China, you're selling to all the movers and shakers that can see 2 years down the road, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. And you got to see the headwinds, you got to see the tailwinds, you got to see what's happening.
Yeah, and this is the thing, right? What I believe, I mean, what we're seeing is that yes, there's people are selling, but who's selling their Bitcoin, right? Who's selling? Those are like guys like us,
Right.
right? Maybe not you, not me, but there are players, right? There are people in the market who are maybe they have one Bitcoin, right? And we always used to say early on, and I think we've maintained that, get to one Bitcoin, right? You hear that everywhere. That's just almost like every single person that you who's in the space, like get to one. Well, there are those who are seeing the market and they said, I'm selling, but who's buying?
Right.
BlackRock is buying, right?
Yeah.
Like all these. big institutional investors or firms are like they're buying,
Yeah,
right?
for
They're
sure.
buying it up, right? And so therefore, I think we just have to be careful. Yeah, it's at 82. And yeah, the tariffs are going to be tough, but do not fear. Just hold on, right?
Yeah,
Longer. And that's what you're going to hear. You're going to hear that message from everybody who've been in this for a while. You just got to hold on to it,
yeah.
right? Write it
No,
out,
and I mean
right?
that's good.
Stick it under a rock.
Yeah, it's a good rule not only for uh Bitcoin, it's a good rule for investing. Like have a long-term time horizon. Uh the like just the stock market in general, if you invested and you haven't sold, even on terrible years when it's down 20%, 25%, it's those are one-offs. It's gonna for the last 100 years, it keeps going up. That's why we made it to 44,000. And it is really interesting. If you look over the last months, we've dropped, especially, I think today it dropped like 1,600 points. The market did. Uh,
Right.
but what is fascinating over the last, I would say, week, 2 weeks, usually that scares Bitcoin, and Bitcoin falls with it. Bitcoin is
Right.
holding hard at like 82, and even this week it stair stepped back up to 88, and then with recent news dropped to 82. But in the past, that would make it drop like to 60, and then
Right.
50, and then 40. And I do think crypto's in a bit of a bear market, but I am shocked Bitcoin is withholding, is standing at where it's
Well, I think that, and I mentioned this in our last episode where I said, if we never got to 103, right? If we were at 62, whatever, got to 82, everybody would be super, super jacked. But that's not the case, right? We went up to 103, we dropped down to 82, everybody is panicking.
at. Right.
But if we zoom out, like, remember, we just got to have a long view of this. Let's just
Yeah.
zoom out. And I'm going to argue that when a few years from now, when we kind of have zoomed out in that 5 year, right? The just tracking for 5 years, you're going to say, oh man, there was like this little, we still see the same trajectory, right? We're not,
For
it's
sure.
just going to be like it's going to be like any other time that we've seen some bit of pullback, right?
Yeah.
And it'll be like nothing happened. So
Yeah.
we're right in it right now. And so everybody's really upset, but if you got in at 62 and you're 82, be happy you're at 82. Enjoy that part of it, right?
Yeah.
And I would say, as you said, in if we look at it just strictly from traditional stock market,
Yeah.
the all of the great investors and those who, the experts in the space, they have long view to
Mm,
this. And if I think we're now getting into more of a very traditional investment strategy space, right? We have to
mm,
just longer view, probably tracks very similar to how the stock market moves. It's not we're probably getting away from that like now, one of the first times where it doesn't exactly fit in that 4 year cycle, right?
right.
And so
Yeah.
now I think we just now shift, put our long view hat on and say, okay, we're going to hold it, right? And
Right.
this is just going to be, and so now it's at 82, and you're like, you know what? As I've been telling people, great time to buy, right? What's happening right now?
Yeah.
If someone says, the stock market's down,
Mm.
I mean, the professionals out there are like, man, I'm going to buy some more right now,
Yeah.
right?
I would say this, it is pretty wild. Like for the last 20 years, well, I would say pivotal moment in the stock market and housing market was 2008 and
Right,
everything. That was the last moment. And that's the moment where the government, instead of batten down the hatches and writing out a multi-year bear market, which they should have, they instead bailed out of the banks and printed a bunch of money. And we've been kicking the can down the road in regards to national debt, in regards to housing crisis, where I live in Montana, you can't touch a house for like $700,000. And like stuff like that is crazy. And then Trump comes in and he's like, "Hey, I'm going to shake it up." And everybody's
Right.
shocked that he's actually doing what he said he was going to do. And I think this might be a good transition because I think we probably have about 10 minutes left.
Sure.
Uh, Tariffs. Like that is
Oh, man.
people are panicking. People are either like I heard one guy say, and I totally believe it. Either Trump is going to go down as a Mount Rushmore president for what he's currently doing, or will be one of the worst presidents ever. And I would lean. Oh, well, let
Mhm.
me ask you, what do you think about this whole deal? Because there's a lot of smart people that are saying this is ridiculous and dumb.
Yeah, I also think that there are a lot of smart people who are are pain sensitive. Like they
Mm,
just, like they just need to suck it up
mm,
and realize that we're going through one of those seasons. But sometimes to get to the place that you want to get to,
mm,
where it's even better, you're going to have to struggle and go through some pain,
mm,
right? And I think that that's what we're going through. And I think that for a couple of generations now, we've been pain adverse. Like we
yeah,
want everything right now. We want to enjoy everything right now. Kind of like that fast food mentality, right? I'm gonna go through the drive-through, get it. Like we've just been accustomed to living in a certain way. And when President Trump is saying, "Hey, we're this is what we're gonna do," and people hear, "Man, this is gonna be hard for a
yeah,
season," their most immediate response is, "I don't want to go through hard. Like,
yeah,
I just want it right now, right?
right,
I will just rather be able to go to my dollar store and get these things from China,
yeah,
right? Like, that they're using, like, I don't know, lead paint and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know what's going on. But what I'm saying is, I'd rather just eat fast food and get fat, and just all
because it
these,
tastes
because
good.
it's just easy, because it tastes good, right?
Yeah,
I think we're going through one of those seasons. I think this is the best opportunity to course correct
mm,
in so many different areas. And I think from economically, and I think just for the health of the nation, I think financially, right? I think this is an important step. It's We're seeing a lot of complaints of people saying, "Oh man, this is going to be too hard." Well, yeah, if you want to get to where it's really great,
yeah,
right? It's not going to get handed to you. You got to work
yeah,
through it, and you're going to
yeah,
struggle, and you got to tighten your belt a little bit, um, and those who are able to see it, they'll probably say, "Hey, stick it out," and hopefully they'll give President Trump enough time to get us potentially there.
yeah,
Um, and then those who don't will keep throwing obstacles in his way. All right, and
yeah,
then we won't get there potentially.
right,
Um, And let's see. Anyway, that's my take. I think tariffs work if you give it the time.
yeah. Do
But
you think a lot of it is
remember,
like playing chess? Like, hey, like he just did, was it 2 days ago, where
yeah,
he raised them on everybody and then just waiting for them to maybe capitulate?
yeah, I think so. I think I don't. I think he does that with everything. Right? There's
Sure,
some drastic move. Everybody's in shock, and then they come hopefully to the table and they settle into a place that okay, this is probably better, right,
sure.
for everybody. Um, I remember when we were in India. We would be like, "Man, how much does it cost to buy that Mercedes Benz there?" And it was some crazy number.
Mm.
Like it was like $300,000 for a Benz, and I'm like, "Bro, how is it $300,000?" Well, because they tax it at like
Right.
100 and 200%, right, into the
Yeah.
country. Um, well, how can you compete, right, when you're being taxed like that? It just doesn't seem fair.
Right.
And so I do think that there's got to be some level of getting to a place where, hey, we all need to get along in every area of our life, but that's one area that I think it would be great if countries got along and everybody was fair to each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Sounds good to
yeah, I
me.
mean, just because. Yeah, I mean, just because the United States has more money than other countries doesn't mean that we should automatically have to pay more. I mean,
Right.
does that make sense? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense.
I mean, I
Anyway,
think we
so
could probably have a lot of people on that would say, yes, it's right. If they have little, then we need to cut them a break.
well then they should make the quality better, and we shouldn't, we should be eating healthy, and we should be doing a lot of things,
So you're
right?
pro free
So
market versus handout.
I'm 100% into free market. I
Yeah,
think free market. I think when you allow the free market to operate in a healthy form, I think that everybody benefits.
sure.
Right. And so that's the way I think. Obviously, not everybody thinks like that, but that's
Yeah.
okay. We
Yeah.
all have our own ideas. Yeah. Where are you on the tariff side?
I was pro at the beginning, and like anything, when it gets tough, you're like, I don't know. Should we be doing this? I don't know. I think it's always really interesting to weigh sides because I think too many times I'm like, oh, this is what I think, and that's probably what everybody thinks, and then you realize, oh, maybe that's not what everybody thinks. Uh,
Yeah.
but I do think I would love to see Trump eh, give it time, and I thought when the market started going down that he might be like, oh, maybe we'll back off, maybe we'll do something. But it seems like he is in it for the long haul, at least like for 6 months. And if by maybe the third quarter, we're at like 30,000 in the stock market and like things have dropped like 30%, he might look at some other options. But I do think, life is kind of like a big experiment, and the older I get, the more I realize nobody really knows what's going on. and, and like even Trump and everybody probably thought one way is going to happen, and maybe it's shaken out the way they thought. Maybe it's like not at all. But I do know that not everybody has like any idea for sure. And so it may work out. Like I said, he may be like one of the best presidents ever, or maybe the worst. And this was a terrible idea. But we are at a place where we have kind of ran out of options.
Yeah.
If we don't want $100 trillion in debt in the next 10 years, then we better start doing something. And guess what? Biden wasn't going to do it. Harris wasn't going to do it. Uh, Everybody else would have been kicking the can down the road. And so for him to have the guts to be like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and it doesn't really matter. Welcome to the show. I thoroughly respect it. And I'm watching my portfolio go down in traditional stock market, watching Bitcoin go down. But again, like I said, it's fascinating to see, especially if you're just learning that there's crypto and there's Bitcoin. And crypto,
Right.
literally, like every other crypto, has gone down a solid 90% since January 1st. Like literally,
Right.
maybe not 90%, maybe some of the smaller cap coins, but take Ethereum is the second largest, and it's gone down 50%.
Yeah, I think it's at
That's just,
1800 or something like that.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is literally like hundreds of billions of dollars that are just out of the market. And so there's a lot of salt in the market right now. A lot of people are angry, but the resiliency of Bitcoin is amazing. And when it takes off again, and it will, you just better strap in because it's going to be fascinating. And it really will be. I think at some point, I'm guessing like 2030, it's going to be $1 million Bitcoin. And whether you bought it 82,000 or 62,000 or 105,000, it's not going to matter. And so you need to get a little bit of Bitcoin. And I tell everybody I meet, oh, they might be like, oh, tell me about XRP or tell me about Doge. Should I get, I just buy a little Bitcoin, sit on it. It's the
That
best asset running, and it's going to be really good for your kids. So get a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with you. And you know what? It's very similar to it. It's so funny that you were talking about that, and kind of it immediately came to my mind. Um, I was making some chai the other day,
Woo.
right? And if you, yeah, yeah, and after you make it, if you let it sit for a little bit, what comes rise to the top is the
Mhm.
malai, the cream. right? At the end of the day, I think what you're seeing is we're seeing a lot of turmoil, we're seeing a lot of ups and downs, we're seeing a lot of like, but what we are seeing going to see is as some of these coins and some of these, the stuff that you're seeing in the crypto world, when you start to see this kind of just fade away, what has kind of stood the test of time, and I think that we could use that term now with in crypto with Bitcoin because it's like 15 years now. What has stood the test of time is Bitcoin. It's kind of
Yeah.
like risen to the top,
Yeah.
right? And it doesn't go away. And every time you think that, man, this is the worst time ever, or it's not going to be able to pull through, or it's going to be a bad investment, you wake up the next day and you're like, wow, it's still here and it's continuing to grow,
Yeah.
right? And so in 15 years, there's nothing. If anybody, if you listen, if you're listening today and you want to go and pull the 15-year map, go take a look at it.
Yeah.
Just look at the projections from 2009 on. Start at 2010 to now, 15 years, right? You're going to see something that's probably not been seen with any asset,
Oh, it's the
right? And
best returns on this asset over anything. And
right,
and if you don't trust yourself and you don't trust the chart, it's always best to see what are the smartest people in the room doing and do what they do. And as we said, for top 5, top 10, it's US, China, and then this company called BlackRock that is
right,
buying all the Bitcoin it can. And so if
right.
they're doing that, they're not going anywhere. Uh, and they see a future for this. So do what smart people do, invest the way they invest, and someday you will be well off.
100% agree. Man, that was good. Good stuff,
Awesome.
man.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That was fun.
Hey, yeah, that was real fun. I for our next episode, I got some ideas, right? But
Good.
I just read, just really quick though. I was just reading this thing called the Bitcoin ecosystem. It's a 2024 annual report put out by a company called Epoch Management.
Okay.
The managing director, yeah, was I just saw him speak the other day, Eric Yakes. That might be something for us to just kind of skim through on
Okay.
one of our next episodes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, anyway, all good. You want to sign us out?
Oh, it's been a good episode. I hope you're having a great week. If you're losing lots of money in the crypto space, maybe do a little more homework, look at some of the fundamentals, or you haven't jumped in yet. It's a great time. Anytime you see a asset, something like Bitcoin that has hit a certain point and then it's dropped 20%, but it continually does that. If it's dropped 20% or 30%, guess what? It's a good time to buy.
All right. Peace. Everybody
All
have a
right.
great
See ya.
day.